Good day, my name is Ligaya and this is my presentation about the execution of Andres Bonifacio y de Castro. So before I talk about the execution itself, I will first discuss a brief background about Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio was born on November 30, 1863 in a small hut at Calle Azcaraga, presently known as Claro M. Recto Avenue in Tondo, Manila. His parents were Santiago Bonifacio and Catalina de Castro. Andres was the eldest in the brood of five. His other siblings were Ciriaco, Procopio, Torwadio, Esperidiona, and Maxima. He obtained his basic education through a certain Guillermo Osmeña of Cebu. The Bonifacio family was orphaned when Andres was barely 14, so at a young age he was already going through a lot. With this, Andres assumed the responsibility of raising his younger siblings. In order to support the needs of their family, he maximized his skills in making crafts and sold paper fans and cranes. He also worked as a messenger in Fleming and Company, and eventually he moved to Fresel and Company, where he worked as a warehouseman until 1896. Poverty never hindered Andres' thirst for knowledge. He devoted most of his time reading books while trying to improve his knowledge in the Spanish and Tagalog language. The warehouse of Fresel and Company served as his library and study room. Andres was married to Gregoria de Jesus, who happened to be his second wife. His first wife, Monica, died of leprosy a year after their marriage. Gregoria was only 16 years old and Andres was 29 when their romance sprung. At first, Gregoria's parents were of course against the relationship, but in time allowed the couple to be married in Catholic rites. The two were married in 1892 and both in Catholic and Katipunan rites. Gregoria chose Lacambini as her nom de guerre, or the assumed name. So, moving on to the execution of Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio y de Castro was a Filipino revolutionary leader and the president of the Tagalog Republic. He is often called the father of the Philippine Revolution. He was one of the founders and later Supremo, also known as Supreme Leader, of the kataas-taasang kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, or more commonly known as the Katipunan, a movement which sought the independence of the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule and started the Philippine Revolution. He was also one of the Filipino historical figures to be recommended as a national hero of the Philippines. So during his time, these were the KKK flags. Today, in Philippine history, dated on May 10, 1897, Andres Bonifacio was executed for being guilty of treason and sedition. So his history. Since the time the Katipunan was discovered, the rivalry between the Magdalo and the Magdiwang factions of Katipunan in Cavite led to a series of reverses. This prompted the Magdalo faction to invite Bonifacio to Cavite to settle their differences and remain united. On March 22, 1897, there occurred the Tejeros Convention. On March 22, 1897, an assembly was called at Tejeros, Cavite. Bonifacio presided the conference to establish the Republic of the Philippines. During the election, General Emilio Aguinaldo was elected as president, Mariano Trias as vice president, and Andres Bonifacio as Secretary of the Interior. Bonifacio, who acceded to the wish to establish a new government, was hurt and felt insulted when Daniel Terona, one of the Magdalo, questioned his position as it was not proper for a person without a lawyer's diploma to occupy it. So during this time, Andres Bonifacio was insulted from Daniel Terona's comment since his wish was to establish a new government and Daniel Terona was questioning him due to certain reasons. Notably, orphaned at the age of 14, Bonifacio had to take on the task of caring for his younger brothers and sisters, being the eldest of the family. He quit schooling to look for ways to support his family. Hence, evoking his authority as the supreme head of the Katipunan, he declared the proceedings in the Tejeros Convention void. So Bonifacio moved to Naik, Cavite and started to form his own government and army. So during the Tejeros Convention, he felt as if people were against him, and therefore he called the proceedings of the Tejeros Convention void, then proceeded to move to Naik, Cavite to form his own new government. So Bonifacio, with his family and men, left Naik for Endang on his way to return to Montalban. Thus, Aguinaldo sent men to arrest him, but Bonifacio resisted arrest and was wounded in the process. So dated on May 10, 1897 was the death of Andres Bonifacio y de Castro. So on May 10, 1897, Andres Bonifacio, the father of the Philippine Revolution and the founder of the Katipunan, and his brother Procopio, were executed in the mountains of Monogondon, Cavite, by General Emilio Aguinaldo's men for being guilty of treason and sedition. This occurred after the death sentence was commuted to indefinite exile by Aguinaldo. So Bonifacio and his brother Procopio were executed after the death sentence was just then commuted to indefinite exile by Aguinaldo. So Bonifacio faced a trial for acts inimical to the existence of the new government and was given the death sentence by a military tribunal, which was commuted then to indefinite exile. Bonifacio died at the age of 33. So in summary, historically, Aguinaldo is not to be blamed for this because Bonifacio's political aspirations, when he lost the elections, he decided to form his own government, contradicting to the prevailing and existing government during that time. However, if Bonifacio were to have his own government, then there would be complications in achieving the so-called unity that they wanted. So it is also said that as a Supremo or a supreme leader, a Supremo cannot have his own group or army, and Bonifacio did not abide by these rules and laws. All Bonifacio wanted was the love and unity of the people and to gain freedom. He chose the path of freedom rather than being under the servility or influence, or rather serving the Castilla or the Spanish. He never wanted to be under the Spanish colonial rule, and as I said, he wanted love and unity and most especially freedom. And he wanted to form his own government, but things did not go according to his plan and things did not end well. So that was the summary about the execution of Andres Bonifacio. And there were several dates during that time, and here's the timeline: before the revolution, during the revolution, and in 1897. So the timeline: before the revolution, there are quite a lot of dates still before the revolution, and during the revolution, still a lot of dates, and during 1897. So all in all, it happened from 1872 to 1896 until Andres Bonifacio died. And well, there is my presentation about the execution of Andres Bonifacio. Thank you for listening.